One of the most popular seafood is shrimps. In fact, the National Marine Fisheries Service has reported that around 9 billion pounds of shrimp is consumed globally every year. To meet these demands, companies like the Viet Uc have developed ways to grow and harvest shrimps. In today's Lord Gizmo video, we will take a look at how they are able to harvest 50 billion shrimp per year. Be sure to watch until the end to see how these shrimps are transformed into delicious tempura. The whole process starts in their Artemia production area. Since they aim to grow shrimps that are healthy and of high value, they make sure that even when the shrimps are just forming, they are fed with rich sources of protein and nutrients such as the feed Artemia. This helps the shrimp larvae have a better pigmentation stage and be stronger and healthier. To complete the package, they also infuse it with algae that they produce on their own. Algae is one of the most valuable sources of early life food for shrimp larvae. They will transfer the algae they cultivated into a large capacity raising area in a closed room so that they can get a better hold of the pH, temperature and light. It will be the same for the hatchery. The company made sure to complete it with modern facilities and technology. Thanks to all of these, they have better control of shrimp seeds through monitoring the seedlings in their 18 to 20 days incubation. Once they are ready to be exported, they will be transferred to this area. Even this part is equipped with high-tech machines like the automatic seed counters that lessen the burden on the workers in terms of making sure that the packed shrimps are of the exact quantity. Now, let us take a look at the farming process of shrimps. It all happens inside this pool-like structure. All of the shrimps will be harvested inside this facility. To make the transition easier, the shrimps will be anesthetized and transferred to a tank with oxygen aeration before they are transported to the factory. The whole transport should happen within minutes only to avoid damage and stress to the shrimp. Once they arrive at the processing plant, they will slowly be introduced to the systems there by keeping them inside these water tanks constantly supplied with oxygen. All of the shrimps you see completely came from their own farms. After a while, they will be divided into batches and loaded to these washing conveyor belts. This will help in removing unwanted particles and impurities on the shrimp. Once they are done, the shrimps will be cooled with water that is below 7 degrees Celsius. This is an important step in keeping the shrimps fresh. To make sure that all of the shrimps meet their standards, especially when it comes to size, they will be loaded again onto this automatic sizing machine. Here, they will be checked thoroughly. However, it is important to note that the shrimps still have to be covered with ice even at this stage to make sure that their temperature does not go below 7 degrees Celsius. The shrimp are placed inside the steamer. In order to utilize every inch of space and ensure that the shrimp cook properly, the workers thoroughly distribute the shrimp on the conveyor belts. Between 90 and 100 degrees Celsius is the steaming temperature. The shrimp must have a body temperature greater than 72 degrees Celsius after steaming. Once semi-finished products have steamed, they are immediately submerged in cold water that is no warmer than or equal to 7 degrees Celsius. After they go through high heat, the semi-finished products need to be cooled down to stop the process. To do this, they will be submerged into water that is less than or equal to 7 degrees Celsius. This is crucial and needs to be done on the right timing to ensure high-quality products. After that, they will be moved to an automatic weighing machine. This will help determine the weight of the shrimps so that they are packaged or sorted out properly. To maintain the freshness of the shrimp, they will be transferred to the IQF machine. Even when it has already reached halfway through its process, it is important that the shrimps are frozen to a temperature below 40 degrees Celsius. As a result, the center temperature of the product will remain below 18 degrees Celsius, which is a good thing for its preservation. The semi-finished shrimp products are moved to the automatic glazing equipment after steaming. Here, they receive a mist of water that is between 0 and 7 degrees Celsius, which results in a glossy, smooth surface with uniform glazing. The process is finally completed when the conveyor belt transfers the shrimp to the second IQF machine for further freezing. One of the ways they check the shrimp's quality is checking it through metal detectors before packing. If ever they detect something, they will be resending the batch of products so it cannot contaminate other shrimps. Items made from shrimp are processed and then stored in master cartons. All information that the buyer requests must be prominently displayed on the packaging. When the final goods are ready for shipping, they are moved to cold storage, where they are kept at or below 20 degrees Celsius in prearranged spaces. But the whole process does not stop there. Of course, these shrimps need to be cooked and processed further before they are considered consumable. Let us take a look at how they do this at the tempura production line. Efficiency and cleanliness are given priority during the deheading of shrimp in factories. After that, they will go through another wave of cleaning. This is to make sure that no contaminants or impurities will affect the products. Usually, shrimp in tempura processing plants are sliced into tiny pieces before being dipped in batter and deep fried. Typically, the shrimp is chopped into strips or tiny cubes after the shell and vein are removed from its back. Depending on the intended end result, the cuts can have different sizes and shapes. Regarding the stretching process, some tempura establishments might utilize machines that gently stretch the shrimp pieces to make them thinner and longer. While others might accomplish it by hand, by tearing the pieces apart. This contributes to the finished tempura having a more consistent texture and look. Before being dipped in tempura batter, shrimp are first covered with a pre-dust before the frying process. After that, cooked at a temperature of 180 degrees Celsius in boiling oil. To guarantee the spherical shape of the shrimp, extra tempura batter is added before they are fried. The shrimp are fried and then put on trays to drain the extra oil. A great deal of care is taken during this procedure to guarantee that the finished product satisfies the unique needs of the client. Did you know that the light, crispy batter of tempura shrimp is achieved by using ice-cold water in the batter mix, and chefs often add a bit of baking soda or use carbonated water to enhance its fluffiness? This culinary technique ensures the batter remains light and doesn't absorb too much oil, resulting in a tempura shrimp that's delightfully crunchy on the outside, yet tender on the inside. Did you also know that the mantis shrimp, despite its name, is known for its vibrant colors and incredibly powerful claws, capable of striking with the velocity of a .22 caliber bullet? This strike is so fast and powerful that it can shatter glass aquarium walls and is used to stun or kill prey. When it comes to the net weight, the tempura shrimp are weighed and put in trays according to the preferences of the customer. Since these will still be packaged and distributed, The tempura needs to be frozen to maintain its quality and shelf life. The workers will freeze them in these chambers that have temperatures of below 18 degrees Celsius. The duration will be depending on the size of the tempuras. Can you imagine how these pieces of bark can turn into something you would use or see at your own home? No, we are not talking about furniture or ornaments. These are what makes wine cork caps. In today's Lord Gizmo video, we will venture together and take a glimpse of how wine cork caps are made from scratch. Before that, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. Wine cork caps are made from the bark of the cork oak tree. Of course, the first step of this process is harvesting. After reaching around 25 years old, cork trees are ready to be harvested. Unlike other trees, cork oak harvesting requires workers to manually remove the bark. They can use hand tools or specialized axes to do so. First, they make precise vertical cuts along the trunk, defining the sections of bark to be removed. A horizontal cut separates the designated bark section from the underlying cambium layer, the vital part responsible for new bark growth. After that, they will proceed to peel the bark carefully away from the tree. This will now result in these large sheets that they pile up on top of each other. Since it uses up the majority of the tree, the next harvest will not happen until after 9 to 12 years. This is enough time for the tree to regenerate and grow back. But do not worry, as this process can continue for up to 200 years, making cork oak trees a valuable and long-lasting resource. Then, these sheets are stacked and air-dried for several months to get rid of excess moisture content. After drying it up, the cork planks will be placed into this steam or large tanks of boiling water for at least an hour to soften its cells, as well as sanitize it before everything else. The processing starts with the workers checking if the cork sheets are in good condition. If they are, they will be transferred to this area where the initial cutting is done. Of course, it would be difficult and would take more time when they process the whole sheets. So, they cut it in smaller pieces through the help of these amazing machines. Then, automated or semi-automated punching machines accurately cut cylindrical cores from the strips. These cores become the individual wine corks. After that, the corks will be inspected to see their size, shape, porosity, and any blemishes. They need to meet the facility's standards so they can proceed to the next step. If you can notice, these are still too long to be cork caps, so let's move on to the next step in the process. The next step of this process usually involves specialized band saws or veneer slicing machines. They are programmed to cut down the planks into long, thin strips with the precise width needed for wine corks. Just like the previous steps, this process is assisted and done majorly by these high-technology machines that are incredibly accurate, ensuring consistent strip thickness for proper cork functionality. Once that is done, the batch of corks will undergo a series of inspections, which can include different systems and tests. With high-end cork producers, they have successfully employed CT scanning technology to analyze the internal structure of each cork. Through these screens, they will be able to detect any visual imperfections, check if the corks can seal the bottle well, and even look at its internal structure. Then, they will go through a machine that labels them to complete the process. A portion of these labeled cork wine covers will now be transported to another part of the facility, which is usually their laboratory or quality control center. Here, they will further check the quality and grade the corks by how well it performs. A series of tests will be done on them. For instance, they will be tested if they cover up the wine bottles well, how well they perform, and even how quickly they come off the bottles. All are still done through the help of machines, so objective and consistent testing is done. The remaining corks from the previous batch will proceed with grading. They will be sent over this area via conveyor belts, where workers are waiting for them. These workers are trained to examine the corks manually and see if they all pass their standards. Although this process is still assisted by machines, it is important to know that manual labor is extremely important here too. The workers will manually discard caps that do not pass their required quality to ensure that the only corks they distribute are those that will meet the needs of the customers. Now, these cork caps will be packaged into airtight bags to prepare them for transportation. Their journey as a cork cap for wine bottles will now start as they leave the facility. After they are used to close up wine bottles, they will be put into boxes and sealed to get ready for wider distribution. Since cork is mostly used in items that involve food and is directly touched by consumers, it is also important that it undergoes a series of treatment and sterilization. Most of the time, this is done through exposing it to high levels of heat. There are a lot of specific ways to do this, given the high level of technology facilities now have, but one of the most popular ways is through the use of a similar concept with microwaves. The cork will be heated to achieve faster drying and sterilization compared to traditional methods. Since it is still a flammable material, the workers monitor this process strictly to ensure safety. After that, this is how the cork will look like, broken down into smaller pieces. Thanks to that new structure, it is much easier to transform the cork into these different shapes. Once that is finished, they will be transferred to another facility. The purpose of this area is to steam the broken down corks and transform them into these big blocks. Now, the corks are not only used for wine caps, but for other materials too. This cork block can be made into the base of slippers and sandals, parts of furniture and utensils, and a whole lot more. Whether you are trying out a new diet or just want to have a healthier eating habit this year, one of the foods that can assist you are walnuts. They do not just offer a delicious flavor, but can also give you many health benefits. They are a good source of protein, healthy fats, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, they can also be eaten in many ways. You can enjoy them raw, roasted, or chopped and added to salads, yogurt, or other dishes. In today's Lord Gizmo video, we will take a look at how this walnut farm harvests millions of walnuts. But before that, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. These hundreds and thousands of walnut trees did not just appear here overnight. They were planted with patience and care. The process starts with cultivating the seedlings at the nursery. This is to ensure that factors like temperature, nutrition, hydration, and more are controlled to give the seedling an optimum growth. A few moments before the seedlings get ready for transplanting, the farmers begin to prepare the land. They do this with the help of these machines that till the soil and bare holes on each of the rows. They also make sure to add in wooden sticks to support the growth of each tree. Then, they start planting the seedlings one by one. Water is needed for plants to grow. In order to supply a consistent amount of hydration to hundreds or thousands of walnut trees, farms often employ an irrigation system. This farm uses the concept of drip irrigation systems for efficient water usage. This involves dripping water onto the soil at very low rates from a system of small diameter plastic pipes fitted with outlets called emitters or drippers. Once the trees are big enough, the farmers prune them to give them better light penetration, air circulation, and nut production. In the case of large-scale farms like these, mechanical trimming of the trees is done since it is more effective. They have these machines that go through the rows of walnut trees to cut off branches that exceed a specific size. Then, they have another machine that helps them clean up after the trim. After a few years, the walnut tree will start to produce fruits. Since they have a lot of trees to cover in a limited time, they use machines like this tree shaker to harvest the walnuts. These huge instruments attach a clamp to the trunk of the tree and produce strong vibrations that shake the tree as a whole. In order to maximize nut removal and minimize damage to branches and the tree itself, the shaker operator carefully regulates the strength and duration of shaking. After being shaken, the fallen nuts are swept by specialized mechanical sweepers into windrows. This makes collection simpler. Before they do this, they make sure to check if the walnuts are ready. They do that by taking a sample from the trees. Once the green outer layer of the walnut starts to dry out and can easily be detached from the shell, that is when they know the trees are ready to be shaken. To collect the nuts, they use a mechanical harvester that moves along the windrows and collects the nuts with its conveyor belts or vacuum systems. This picking up process also assists in knocking off the loose hull from the nuts. Then, walnuts will be unloaded via a conveyor belt to transfer them to a trailer. This will be the vehicle that will transfer this batch of walnuts to the processing facility. Once they arrive, they unload the walnuts to this pit that leads them to another conveyor belt. During this part, the workers will also slowly sort out and remove the debris and unwanted materials in the batch. Once the walnuts get unloaded, they are moved to this conveyor belt that goes upward. It will continue moving, which also helps in the sorting process, until it reaches the huller. Harvested walnuts might contain debris or immature nuts. Sorting systems remove these before hulling to prevent damage or contamination. A walnut hulling drying facility processes harvested walnuts, transforming them from their green outer hulled state into the familiar dry, shelled nuts, ready for consumption or further processing. They primarily use huller machines to do so. These machines are tasked to separate the green fleshy outer hull from the hard inner shell. Different types of hullers exist, like mechanical disc hullers or water-based flume hullers. Each utilizes various techniques to remove the hull efficiently. In this video, they have used a water huller which uses water jets to separate the husk. Then, they go to a sorting table. In this area, there will be 3 workers tasked to sort the walnuts by hand. Then, they are moved to another area where they will be dried. Freshly hulled walnuts have a high moisture content, making them susceptible to mold and spoilage. Drying reduces moisture to a safe level, which is around 6 to 8%. There are different methods of drying walnuts, and one of them is using mechanical dryers. This means that they use heated air to circulate around the walnuts, efficiently removing moisture. To make sure that they do not get overly dried, their moisture content will continuously be checked by the workers of the facility. After visually inspecting the product, they will be moved to this part of the facility where they will be sorted by size. There are many ways to do this, but one of the most effective ways is through the help of gravity. They load the nuts on this big container with different sizes of holes. The purpose of these holes is to let the smaller walnuts fall down so they are left with those that fit their standards. The holes on the surface or screens with progressively smaller gaps allow different sized nuts to fall through at different points. Let us now proceed to the shelling process of the walnuts, and this is done through cracking them. For large-scale operations, mechanized crackers are the most common method. These machines utilize various techniques to apply controlled pressure and crack the shells without damaging the delicate kernels inside. These use rapidly moving beaters or hammers to crack the shells. In this case, their machines have cylinders that allow the walnuts to move along. They are also programmed to be gentle when it comes to de-shelling so they do not damage the kernels. After that, a series of sorting systems separate the kernels from the shell fragments and any remaining pieces of hull. Walnuts are versatile, which means that different versions of walnuts will be in demand in the market. To make sure which kernel goes into what product, they do a series of quality control tests. Some kernels will go into stacking, while some are perfect for food manufacturing. This is usually determined by their visuals and overall quality. Pasteurizing walnuts involves applying heat or other treatments to eliminate harmful bacteria like Salmonella, E. coli, and Listeria that can sometimes be present on the shells or inside the nuts. Walnuts are exposed to a controlled stream of hot steam for a short duration, eliminating bacteria while minimizing moisture absorption and flavor changes. It can also be done through roasting, where walnuts are roasted at a high temperature for a longer duration. This facility uses laser sorters to size the kernels and put them in their respective bins. Then they will be sent to this area for the final quality check. This process is done by skilled and trained workers that manually sort the walnuts. They will look for imperfections or damaged kernels and separate it from the group to make sure that they only distribute high-quality ones. Once that is done, they start packaging the walnuts. Since there are different uses for walnuts, this facility also made sure that they are able to pack them into different sizes and weights. Then, they will prepare these packs of walnuts for shipping and wider distribution. This has been Lord Gizmo, and we hope you learned a thing or two. Before you leave, please don't forget to show this video some love by giving it a thumbs up, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the notification bell so you can get notified whenever we have new uploads. You can also tell us in the comments section what videos you want us to feature next. Oh, and you might want to check out our separate video on how millions of peanuts are harvested to make delicious peanut butter.
The country Vietnam is known to be the largest cashew-producing country around the world. Due to its high health benefits and the good things it does to one's heart, the demand for this hearty snack has been increasing ever since. This has helped Asian countries, especially Vietnam, develop more efficient ways to harvest and process cashews. In today's Lord Gizmo video, we'll explore the insider details on cashew processing. But before that, please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more related videos. The whole process starts with planting the cashews. Typically, they grow on trees, specifically the Anacardium occidental trees. It's originally native to Brazil, but throughout time, other parts of the world have learned how to cultivate it. The planting process starts with the careful selection of the cashew seeds. Farmers make sure that the seeds they pick have the standard germination rate, disease resistance, and nut size. After that, they prepare the soil by clearing out the weeds and adding in organic matters like compost or manure. They also make sure that the soil is suitable for the growth of the cashew by checking its pH level. Usually, the seeds are planted during the rainy season when the soil is moist. It requires a lot of moisture, so farmers make sure to water them frequently. Normally, it takes around 5 to 7 years for cashew trees to mature and produce nuts. All throughout these years, farmers need to provide constant care and pruning to the trees. Once the trees mature and bear fruit, it will take about 2 to 3 months before they can ripen. It's important that the farmers wait for these cashew nuts to ripen fully because they will fall on their own through this. Once that happens, the farmers will pick them up individually and put them into these sacks. However, not all of these are consumable. The seed of the cashew nut is found inside the pit of the fruit and is encased in a fleshy membrane known as the testa. The only edible part of the testa is the kernel. After they fill these containers, the cashews will be transferred to a truck. This will help them get transported to the processing facility. One of the vital parts of cashew processing is drying cashews. Although there are different ways to dry the cashew, one of the most common ways to do this is through sun drying. First of all, they transfer the cashew from the truck and spread it out on a single layer. They make sure that there is a protective layer of plastic underneath to make sure that no unnecessary dirt will come near the cashews. The workers will leave them in direct sunlight for a couple of hours or until the desired dryness is reached. It's important to note that they don't leave the cashews for too long because it may become rancid or spoil. Once they are all dried out, they will be placed into a packaging. This is in preparation for the delivery to the processing facility. Once the batches of cashews reach the processing facility, they will be sorted according to size and quality. Workers in this stage make sure that only the highest quality cashews are processed so their resources are maximized. To ensure that the process remains hygienic and the cashews are safe for consumption, the process starts with de-stoning and cleaning them. In processing facilities, they do this mechanically with the help of a cashew detonator or a cashew de-stoner. Aside from cleaning the cashews, these machines help remove their shells too. Loading the cashews onto this machine not only washes them, but also helps separate unwanted debris. It has a mechanism that can help separate the cashews from any stone, sand, or etc. Through the help of this machine, workers can guarantee that they only have good quality kernels on the next step. After that, the cashews will move to the next step, which is steaming or roasting. It can be done in two ways: steaming or through roasting them without oil. This not only enhances the flavor of the nuts, but also helps soften up their shell. In most processing facilities, they process these cashew nuts through a machine where hot air circulates around them. Using machines instead of manually roasting them allows a constant temperature to flow. After they are subjected to heat, the cashews will be transferred to this machine that moves them upward. The purpose of this is to initiate the process of cooling. All the cashews that are meant for cooling will be placed here. In most cases, they are air cure or cooled, but some facilities also do it mechanically. This will prevent over-roasting and also help in retaining their moisture content. Once they've been cooled, they'll be transferred to this raw cashew nut sizing system. This machine has a hopper and an elevator feed that helps feed the cashew nuts to the system. They'll fall onto this machine and will be sorted out according to their sizes. Using a machine like this in this part of the process reduces the labor requirement, which also reduces the costs. Then, depending on what size they are, the cashew nuts will be transferred to the appropriate containers. Subsequently, the cashew nuts are shelled after being transferred to storage silos via vertical and horizontal conveyors. Different operating modes have been implemented for both horizontal and vertical layouts of shelling machines, both mechanical and manual. The automated shelling lines can be modified to become a continuous sheller that uses mechanical scoops to automatically gather the kernels after separating the shells from the kernel. After processing, raw cashews usually weigh about 25% of their original weight. Shelled RCNS generate shells and kernels during the shelling process. After shelling, it's critical to remove the oily shells as soon as possible to keep the kernels from getting greasy. A perforated vibrating deck splits the kernels from the shells following the shelling machine output. Since the lighter shells are vacuumed by a pneumatic aspirator, there isn't any contact between them and the kernels. The next process is basically just like the previous one. The shelled cashews will be transferred to a conveyor belt that goes upward. This belt will allow the nuts to fall into this other machine where they are sorted according to size and quality. You can see how each container here contains different appearances of cashew nuts. In this processing facility, they have these trays that would be used for further processing. Depending on what their quality is, each of the cashew nuts will be placed to fill these trays. This process can be done manually, but it's much faster and more economical to do it mechanically. Once the trays are filled, they'll be stacked onto each other. These trays of cashew nuts will be subject to another process of drying. After that, they will undergo the process of humidification. This means that the trays are kept in trolleys for conditioning and humidified in a closed room. This is another process that helps it enhance their flavor, texture, and shelf life. Measuring and monitoring are two tasks that make up most of humidification. After some time, another worker will check the condition of each tray. When they've already met the standards, the worker will transfer them over to this funnel-like machine. This is the machine responsible for peeling the cashew nuts. Cashew kernels are graded by sorting them according to specified standards into various sizes and shapes. This work is usually done by skilled laborers manually who filter through each batch of kernels to place them in proper categories. However, because of their affordability, accuracy, and speed, mechanical graders are becoming more and more common in contemporary cashew processing plants. Before placing the kernels in the appropriate bins, these machines employ cameras or other sensors to determine the size and form of the kernels. The cashew nuts will be fumigated after they've been graded in order to eliminate pests that can cause damage and spoiling while being transported and stored. Just before they're packed, more than 70% of cashews are fumigated with phosphine. To make sure that all insects and eggs are gone, the nuts are subjected to a regulated dose of phosphine gas for a few hours. Additionally, the treatment helps keep other pests like beetles, weevils, and mites from invading. Finally, the cashew nuts are packaged as a preparation for their distribution. To ensure optimal product protection, cashew kernels need to be packaged carefully. To prevent any external or internal damage to the goods, the materials used inside the package need to be clean and of a high enough grade. The containers used to pack cashew kernels must also be hermetically sealed.
With over 1,000 varieties, melons do have a special place in the market. Their juicy and refreshing taste has been a favorite of many. In today's Lord Gizmo video, we will take a look at how different types of melons are harvested and processed. But before that, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. This adventure starts from the planting of melons. Did you know that to ensure a certain volume of harvest, farms don't directly plant a melon seed onto the open field? Yes, they do it inside a nursery first. This is why you see the farmers planting seedlings already with this innovative tool. When planting watermelons in the field, there's an interesting agricultural practice: the use of plastic mulch. Farmers often cover the soil with plastic film before planting. This technique serves multiple purposes. It warms the soil, speeds up the growth process, helps retain moisture, suppresses weed growth, and protects the fruit from soil-borne diseases and pests. The warmer soil under the plastic is particularly beneficial for watermelon seeds, which require a warm environment to germinate effectively. Let us take a closer look at what happens inside a seedling nursery. It all begins with choosing high-quality melon seeds. Of course, no matter how much care a farm gives, if the seeds are prone to diseases or damages, it will be very difficult to push through the harvesting season. For this reason, farmers choose seeds that are well suited for the local climate and soil conditions. This machine assists the farmers in planting these delicate seeds to these trays for the nursery. This machine is smart enough to be able to equally space out the seeds it places. It is also programmed to put fertilizer on every tray of seeds that it plants. After that, they are taken onto the area where they are allowed to grow and develop. It is important to notice that even during their growth period, from seeds to seedlings, the farmers need to monitor them closely. Each of the seedlings are checked manually, and they are complete with their needed water and nutrients. One of the farmers regularly checks their growth and sees if they are ready for transplanting. But before that, other farmers need to prepare the field first. Moving watermelon plants from the nursery to the field is a critical step in their cultivation, typically done when specific conditions are met. The optimal time is when the plants have developed 2 to 3 leaves, which usually occurs about 3 to 4 weeks after seeding in the nursery. They first need to make furrows or raised beds for optimal melon growth. As I already mentioned earlier, you can see the tractor is preparing the soil with a plastic film that acts as a mulch with all its amazing benefits. After that, they start manually planting the seedlings onto the raised beds. The distance between rows and plants varies based on factors like crop variety, soil type, and expected yields. The number of watermelons a farmer can plant per day varies widely, depending on several factors, including the planting method used, manual or mechanized, the size of the team working, and the field conditions. In manual planting, a small team might plant around 1,000 to 2,000 plants per day, assuming a steady pace and favorable weather conditions. Large-scale melon farmers often use drip irrigation systems or sprinkler networks to provide consistent moisture and nutrients throughout the growing season. They also make sure that even when the seedlings are fertilized inside the nursery, they are complete with another round of fertilizers upon transplanting. After a couple of days, these seedlings will start growing out their leaves and flowers. This is where some farmers come in by maintaining each row to make sure that there is no crowding. They also perform weed control techniques if needed to minimize competition for resources. The manual checking helps workers check even pest infestation. Regular hydration is also done through the help of this vehicle that can water multiple rows at a time. Watermelons require a considerable amount of water, especially during their peak growth period, to develop their sweet and juicy fruits. On average, watermelon plants need about 1 to 2 inches, 2.5 to 5 centimeter, of water per week. However, this can vary based on soil type, weather conditions, and the plant's growth stage. When melons reach maturity, they are typically harvested by hand or with specialized machinery, depending on the farm's equipment and labor availability. After harvesting, melons may undergo additional processing steps like cleaning, grading, and packaging before being transported to market. Around 60 to 130 days, the melons start growing and maturing. Farmers will start monitoring them more often to make sure if the fruits are already ready for harvest. Certain factors like their color and even scent is checked because these indicate if the melons are already ripe or not. Melons can have a variety of looks, but ripe ones have bright colors, are plump, and give slightly when touched. It is ready as indicated by its pleasant perfume, and when you tap it, it sounds hollow. Recall that weight counts. A melon with more weight is typically worth more. Don't overlook the field spot, which is a sun-kissed indicator of ripeness. Once all of these factors are checked, the farmers start manually picking them for harvest. Although this process is aided by trucks, most of it is done by hand picking the melons. But it is important to mention that harvesting techniques totally depend on the variety of melon. Hand harvesting may be favored for some melons, such as watermelons and muskmelons, in order to guarantee quality and lower labor expenses. Ripe melons are hand-selected by skilled laborers, who then delicately twist them from the vine. Then, farmers carefully and gently pick the melons and place them on these trucks or large crates. After that, they will be transferred onto crates or boxes to prepare transportation to the facility. Upon reaching the processing facility, workers will greet the melons with quality assessment. They make sure that all the melons they receive are of high quality. Then the melons will go through this area where they will be washed with water. In some facilities, spray is used to remove any dirt, dust, or other impurities from the surface. This step is very important in making sure that the risk of bacterial contamination within that certain batch of melon is reduced. The journey of melons continues through the help of conveyor belts that pass the cleaned melons to this area. This is where the workers manually check the quality of the fruits. They make sure there are no bruises or overripe melons in the batch. The melons that do not pass the facility's standards are removed from the batch to ensure that their customers only get the best. Then, sort all of those that passed by size and quality. Each of the melons are labeled with stickers and placed in boxes. Some of these are distributed in the market, while others are processed further. Now, let us follow those that are processed further. It starts by manually loading the melons onto this machine. This is a peeler that pierces the melon to hold them into place. This is important because the mechanism of this machine includes rotating the melons to peel them easily. Then, the peeled melons are forwarded to the inspection table. The worker at this station starts looking at the meat of the melon and scrapes its insides. All of the waste is also collected to manage properly. Just like what happened in the harvesting process, different types of melons also go through different processes. This variety of melon goes through a machine that basically has the same mechanism with the first peeler. The only difference is the fact that multiple melons can be loaded at the same time, and it immediately directs the peeled melon to this table. The slicing process of this melon is done through a machine where they are cut into chunks. There are several different types of melons, including muskmelon, cassava, honeydew, cantaloupe, and watermelon. Every variety has distinct qualities of its own, including taste, texture, skin color, and size. Depending on how these melons are going to be used, different factories process them differently. For instance, certain firms would harvest melons only at specified times depending on when they mature, while others might employ conveyor belts or other specialized machinery to swiftly sort through massive volumes. Some even employ cutting-edge technology, such as high-pressure processing devices that eliminate microorganisms without compromising nutrition or flavor. After all of these processes, the melons are packaged and prepared for a wider market distribution. And that's how a melon gets from a field drenched in sunlight to a cool treat on your table. Watermelon, a summer staple, is not just refreshing but also harbors a fascinating fact. It is both a fruit and a vegetable. Botanically, it qualifies as a fruit because it grows from a flower and contains seeds. However, it's also part of the gourd family, like cucumbers and pumpkins, making it a vegetable. What's more, every part of the watermelon is edible, including the rind and seeds. The watermelon is over 90% water, making it a hydrating choice on hot days. Did you also know that watermelons have a hidden quirk? They were once used as canteens. In ancient times, explorers and travelers would hollow out watermelons and use them to store water for long journeys. This practice leveraged the fruit's natural water content and sturdy rind. We appreciate you coming along on this wonderful journey with us. Next time you enjoy a delicious slice, don't forget to thank the hardworking farmers and processors who provide you with this delightful summertime treat. If you want to learn more about other processes, be sure to check out our video on how millions of coconuts are harvested. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so we can keep you posted on the new manufacturing process. Until the next video, thank you for watching.